Hi everyone, this is Vin. Thanks for joining my class. Today I'm going to teach you the steps that I take in drawing with inks. In particular with waterproof and non-waterproof inks and how I switch between the two. I think it'll be pretty intimidating at first, but in actuality it's pretty easy. So these are the tools that I'll be using for today's drawing. I don't use a pencil to start because I think it's a lot more fun to just go straight in with ink. This is a Lamy Safari. It's a non-waterproof color pen. I started putting some line here to show how it works. It is non-waterproof, so I kind of dig how it kind of blends. I can pick up shading by using like a water brush. This is a Pentel water brush. You just fill water in it and it just has water come out. I usually use this with actual watercolors or just pens that aren't waterproof. Micron 005 archival ink. This is waterproof. I usually use a 005 because it is so fine that I can pick up more details and I don't have to worry about it getting blended, as you may see from my tutorial. It's kind of mixed both the Lamy and the Micron as I work, because it's easier for me and I'm hoping it'll be easier for you as well to understand that. There's actually a set that come with these. There's actually black and a brown, but I'm only going to be using the gray brush pen. This is a Pentel. It's a color brush pen number 137. I like this as well as background stuff. It comes out nice and thick when you first get it, and it also has a pretty nice point to do like some kind of fine work. And these are the colors that I'll be using today as well. These are Tombows double-sided brush markers. I usually just use a gray and two tones of like a pink red just for skin tones for my subject, but they're something that I also like to use as a substitute for watercolor because it can blend. You can blend these colors together and it does come out pretty nicely, I think. I can do some kind of toning by blending these together, and I think it's a pretty useful way of, and a very quick way of putting colors down. The sketchbook that I'm using is a Baron Fig. It's very similar to a Moleskine. I've been using this because it is a little bit thicker than a Moleskine. It's kind of like the old school Moleskines, so it's pretty sturdy. Like, as you can see, like whatever water, it doesn't buckle as bad as the Moleskines nowadays. But it's the same. It comes in a 3-pack. It's practically the same exact thing as a Moleskine, but just thicker paper. So the reference photo that I'm going to be drawing is from Hugo Boss Chanel. This image is in the Sketchy app, but I put it up on my laptop so it's easier to draw when I'm doing this tutorial. I'm starting off with using a Lamy pen just to plot out. This is a non-waterproof pen, so I'm determining what I don't mind blending and what I lose with water. So I'm working on the ear right now. As you can see, I switched to the Micron pen because I didn't want to lose too much of the ink when I add water to it. So it's a few of the detail work that I wanted to do within this drawing. As you can see, starting with the ear, it kind of is helping me map the rest of the face. I think more importantly in this drawing, the fist and arm, I wanted to make sure it fits. So this is where I wanted to put the ear first, because that kind of shows like a good starting point. Throughout this drawing, I am plotting things out with the micron and switching over to the Lamy, because I kind of know that I'm probably going to be putting water over to blend, so something like an eyebrow will most likely be easier to blend. As you can see, I'm just making estimates of where to place things. It's easier to plot it out, like I said, with the micron. But as you can see, I basically am estimating between which pens to use on what section, knowing that I'm going to be using water and color to this drawing. Things that I don't want to blend, like the ridge of the nose, I'm already determining that I would be using a micron for that. This side of the face, this is where like the mustache and basically the left side of the face, I switched to Lamy because most likely I'll be blending all of this stuff when I add water to it. So the hand is something I really like drawing. So I usually draw the hand with a micron because I really like seeing the line work on that. Being that this fist is in front of the face, I'm drawing this with the micron so that way this won't get blended or not too much messed with As you can see behind the hand, I drew the part of the face with the Lamy pen. That's the stuff I'm already planning in my head that I am going to be putting a wash in. So the idea is that I don't want this ink to get blended with the fist, so that's why I'm drawing it with the micron. And these are all the shading parts that I kind of figure when I put water in it, it'll blend. So as you can see, I'm just drawing freeform. I don't find it really that necessary to measure things out properly. I think by eyeing it, you get a basic idea of where this is going to connect to. Especially with pencils, if you use pencils, obviously you have everything plotted easily to ink, but this particular demonstration, I want people to just draw without needing the pen or needing the pencil. As you can see here, it's just all of the same parts that are on in the photo reference. I'm just drawing it without any real interest in it working together, other than just drawing what I'm seeing. Around here, I realized that the shoulder doesn't connect with where the neck is in the drawing, in the photo as well. So this is something that I think is the fun stuff about inks. You don't really have to pretend like the drawing is over. As you can see, just drawing what you do, where it does belong, I'd say, is very easy with the Micron and or Safari, really. But since I'm drawing this with the Micron pen, you can see I'm just plotting out everything as is. Because the Lamy will be what I'm going to be blending with water, this is where you can very easily connect the area that you feel like you messed up on, but again, I'm going through this with the Lamy because I'm just going to blend all of those together. I like how this reference, the face and the forearm and hand are the only things that are really in color. So again, I'm just emphasizing by putting in more color into it with the micron, only because it's not really going to blend, but when I add color to it, you'll see that it's a little bit darker than the areas that will pretty much like stay white. So where I'm gonna determine the stuff that's just gonna be blended. So the hair background, it all seems to. I mean, you could obviously see in the photo that there is a distinction between the hair and the background, but for this particular drawing, I wanted to just blend everything together. So I figured I'm just gonna use the Safari. Again, I'm re-going over everything that I think I'm just coloring right over with the Safari Lamy. So with the water brush, I can just go through everything that I drew with the Lamy Safari pen and really pull out the shading and tones just from running it through. I also have like a napkin just in case of something I don't want to get too muddled. I'll try to suck it up with the napkin. But for the most part, it does pull up everything quite nicely as if it is like shading. I think it definitely adds like a good tone. and makes things a little bit more three-dimensional. As you can see, I take like parts that were heavily inked with the Lamy, and I use that in other sections as well. This is where I'm using the brush pen, the Pentel gray colored brush. I wanted to make this as part of the background for this. I didn't want to make it as a black background. So this one is a fairly dark and pretty rich gray. It definitely comes out in spurts, and I kind of like how it blends out. Like you can really blend it out to mix it to make it a more monotone gray. This is another shade of gray that I'm using with a Tombow. Tombos are also waterproof, or not waterproof, they're non-waterproof, but they're water-based markers. So it's pretty easy to actually blend with the Lamy pens as well. It does make if you use light colors, it does make it a bit muddy, but I tend to try to not do that, not use it that way. But this is a particular gray that I thought would be easier, lighter. I wanted to make some kind of stripe, so I'm just using this lighter gray. I mean, technically I should have used a much more richer gray, I think. This one seems to be drying out a bit. So with the coloring, I'm also using the Tombow for the skin tones. Mainly I try to go through the reference and see all the darker parts. I like going through the face first, as it kind of gives me an idea of the tone of what the rest of the drawing's going to look like. As you can see, this is where the Lamy picks up as well in the color and kind of adds as a shadow for the left side. So it's something that is good to keep in mind when using Lamys. This is a redder color, just to add more of a red tone in the nose. And you can blend the Tombows together just to be able to not make things too red or too Rudolph-like. As you can see, I also tend to twist when I have when I run through the brush pen through something like a Lamy ink. Obviously, it gets darker. I make like a shadow, but if I want something light, like in the middle tone, I'll usually twist the brush so that way I'm using the other side. I'll try to find like another area that might need a darker tone to pretty much like clean the brush, if that makes sense. Okay, so this is the finished piece. As you can see from the colors and how I did the process with the inks, it's pretty simple. It's a pretty fast process without pencils. I'm hoping that when you guys create a piece, you'll just keep in mind of the different materials that are used and the process of switching through these different materials to create what you guys are going to create. It's going to be a lot of fun. So that concludes my class. I hope you guys learned a bunch of new things from the tutorial, and I hope to see what you guys create.